very excited because today I am interviewing Jeff Corhan. Jeff has a new book on the market. It is for small businesses, chambers, which are small businesses, and your members, which of course are 90% of which are small businesses. Jeff, thanks for being on the show today.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Jeff, why don't you give us a little background on yourself? How come? Why'd you write this book, and what's your business background?
Sure. My business background is the first decade was in corporate sales and marketing environment with a very large company. Then I started a landscape business, a local business, and operated that for 20 years. Sold that about 5 or 6 years ago and have been focused on what I'm doing now ever since, which is helping small businesses with their online marketing, their social media marketing, or I guess today we call that social marketing because it encompasses not just the media or the technology, but it's really changing consumer behaviors offline as well as online.
It is a radical shift. I've been writing a lot about the 20th century marketing models, the old sales funnel versus today, and we're in a new world.
Sure. Well, you asked two questions. The main reason I wrote the book actually is that I was asked many times by my audience members when I was out speaking to small businesses to recommend a book so that they could take it home, sit down at their own pace, really dig into this and to get the results that they were expecting.
Sure.
And unfortunately, I found myself challenged to do that because I would think of the books that I enjoyed, and some of them were very technical. Many of them were specifically for marketers like me. So there really wasn't a book out there for what I like to think of as the mainstream, typically non-technical small business. And that's really what this book is about, is to giving them a simple process. It's methodical, it's reliable, it does work, and it's really got some of those ingredients in there that most businesses, large or small, seem to be missing. What's really interesting about it, at least to me, and I forget how this happened, but I'm glad it did, I started thinking back to my landscape business and wrote about how I was using advertorials to educate my consumers, my buyers, because when I got into the landscape industry, I was completely new to it, didn't have any formal education in it whatsoever, and I was confused about why I would want to be in the yellow pages, let's say, with my competitors, shouting as loud as possible, meaning with having the bigger, more expensive ad. But what really led me to what I was doing was, as I started to learn more about the industry, I found out that I was hearing a lot of different things, a lot of different methods, a lot of different practices. I figured if I was confused, the consumer must be confused. So I spent some time just creating these advertorials in local neighborhood publications, and it really got people's attention. And so what I realized today is I was doing then what we now call content marketing. And the beauty of today is we have this platform, this digital platform, that allows us to easily get that out there. And so that's really the foundation of the early part of the book, is talking about content marketing and how that drives your social media engagement, and then of course how that leads to the profitable outcomes that everybody's looking for.
So let's talk about that for a minute here as it applies to small business people. Let's say I am an accountant or a veterinarian, and I have all this knowledge, and I could give it away, I guess, but then if I give away everything I know, then why would somebody need me? I think there's some confusion there. So why would somebody want to create this content and just give it away?
Right. Well, that's a great question, because people think of that, an accountant, an attorney, why should I give away all this knowledge because then you don't need me? Well, the truth is, we do need you because we're not an attorney. We don't have that expertise, but what we are looking for is to have an understanding that you have the expertise that we can rely on. So I think of this as social marketing. In fact, I just wrote a blog post about this, is sort of relationship selling, because when you start out to sell in a relationship environment, the first thing you do is help the buyer to get comfortable with you. And how do you do that? You're sharing your expertise, you're getting to know them as a person. And so really, I like to think of social marketing really is relationship selling, because a small business, if they're in business, they know how to sell. That's how they got to where they are today. And if they take that sort of human way that they've grown their business to the social marketing platforms, they will get results. And so you give away a lot because that is the attraction element. People are searching the web for something, typically solutions to problems. And they're looking for somebody that has credibility, and they're looking for somebody that's solving problems. And you solve a lot of problems for them, and they say, you know what, you're my new accountant, you're my new attorney, you're my new landscaper, whatever.
Especially if they reach out and like your page or comment or post or in some way engage with you, and you actually act like a human and you return, with a thank you or
Right.
or some kind of small talk. It's almost like a networking thing, to where a lot of people go to a networking event and they feel very uncomfortable because they're there to sell something, and it's uncomfortable just to be pushing your product. But with online and with good people in networking events, they just strike up a relationship. They're not there to close the deal. They're there just to be helpful, to how can I help you, things of this nature. And
Sure.
if it's all about you, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's the same with online.
Right. I mean, are you a giver or are you a taker? And just like today, I received a message from somebody I've known for years that I met online. We've never met face to face. And she was just saying, thank you, if there's anything I can do for you. And I said, sure, I've got this book that I'm trying to promote, and would you mind? And she said, sure. And I, of course, offered to help her in some way. And so I'm going to do that as well. And so the idea is that, you're building up a relationship. And when you do that enough, your product or service or whatever it is that makes revenue for your company becomes almost like a souvenir. You've built up so much trust with us. You've earned our trust that now we want to buy from you. You may not even necessarily be the best company, but I think even today, and maybe especially today in this risk-averse economy, people want to work with businesses that they trust. And so a key thing I wanted to say here, though, is, at these networking events, to think of yourself as someone with answers. Being in the answers business is how I like to think about it, because in every single industry, the same problems, they never go away. Mm-hmm. Somebody is always searching for a particular solution, and they're looking for a relevant solution, especially. So if you're a local business, how you position that for your local community makes it that much more relevant. And we both know how search is moving towards location. Sure. It's a great way to personalize your business and be the one that rises up in the search engine rankings when people are searching for a business like yours.
So how should a small business, let's say a local landscape company or some small chamber member, start using social media? If it's not for advertising, if it's not for selling, where do you start?
Well, let's say you haven't done anything up to this point. I just saw some stats on this recently. Most small businesses are comfortable with LinkedIn. And so that's a great place to at least, start to build a presence and get familiar with the technology and share information and connect with others. And so really you take your friends, colleagues, associates, everybody that you work with in real life, you try to bring that online to LinkedIn, and from there you kind of have a basis. And I like LinkedIn a lot because it's they're on their game. They really are constantly making great improvements. The best part about LinkedIn is it's 100% searchable by Google. Facebook, as we know, is a walled garden. All that personal information stays within Facebook. Facebook is not readily searchable, even though they have the new graph search. So let's say we have LinkedIn now, and we need some fuel to kind of have something to share. I highly recommend that every small business be blogging in some shape or form. It doesn't have to be weekly. It doesn't even have to be monthly. Most small businesses, I don't care what you read or hear, are not blogging. Right. And if you're publishing something even on a monthly basis, you are going to leap ahead of your competition, if you want to call them that, like you can't believe, because people, again, search drives the web, content drives search, people are looking for solutions. If you are publishing solutions on a blog that you own, meaning on a domain that you own, that content lives there, it breathes 24 hours a day, it speaks to your expertise, your credibility, and your concern for helping people solve problems, and that makes you very attractive.
So you mentioned in your book how you had your landscape business for years and years. You built it into owning your target market. You were the leader in your niche. And then when it came time to get out of the business, you had all this machinery left over. But that was kind of hard to get rid of. But what people wanted was that asset of those names and the connections and your website. So
Right.
that blog becomes a major asset over time.
Right, right. Well, it was, we had accomplished something. It wasn't intentional, but it is now topical, and that is this trend toward being hyper local, really becoming somebody that owns an area where you're the go-to person for whatever you do. So, for example, I'll be speaking next month to the Snow and Ice Management Association, and obviously in their industry, safety is a big thing. And I remember the last time I spoke there, I suggested to somebody that why don't you start a blog and make it all about safety, for snow plowing, of course, but also for other things, and make yourself the go-to safety expert. It would really drive a lot of business because now you have that blog point to your primary website, or you have it within your website. It's a great way to kind of own a space. But that was one of the things. It was a pretty tall compliment from a very well-known, nationally well-known business that was considering buying our business. He said, "I'm tired of driving around your community to get to my other customers."
Right.
And you know, I really felt like I was going to sell to him because they're very well respected, and not that the ones I sold to aren't. It was just a different mix. We're a residential company; they were commercial. But as it turned out, it became a nice little marriage that kind of got them into some new markets, and they needed my marketing expertise, so that was attractive to me. They took good care of my people, but yeah, you know, it's like everybody has something of value which drives their business, and if you can somehow be communicating that to a community, the community is an ecosystem, and they want to get to know everybody within that community before they necessarily do business with them. So the more you support the community, the more you get the word out about the good work you're doing and how you're helping people, the more likely your business is going to attract new buyers.
And creating content really differentiates you, because from what I've read, about 90% of people online lurk. You know, they're there, but they're not contributing very much, and they're certainly not creating any new content. Some percentage, like 8%, are active in building relationships, but again, they're not creating content. Only 1 or 2% of people actually generate this thoughtful content, and so,
right.
So it really differentiates you.
Right, and if you just pick one platform in which you do that, so this 80-20 rule really applies. I'll admit, I don't create a lot of content on Facebook or most of the other social networks. What I do create is content on my blog, and the beautiful thing about it is all my friends share it. So basically, people ask me, "Jeff, how much time do you spend on social media?" Very little, because other folks are sharing what I publish, and so I'm really just jumping in at some point and saying thanks and sharing what they have created. But if you're really trying to drive activity, let's say on Facebook, it's a tough thing to do because it takes a serious time investment. And I think that's maybe why a lot of mainstream small businesses are finding that they're not getting results, is because they're focused on Facebook, and Facebook is a tough platform to get the kind of results you're looking for. I admire those that are doing it well, but I just don't have that kind of time.
I think it comes back to the sales funnel. At the very top of the sales funnel, in the old days, you fill it up with advertising, but today you fill it up through social media and providing content and getting your story out there, and all of that brings people in. But you don't try to sell there. You just create awareness, get your story out, and then you build relationships. And then once they're really comfortable, once they have the know, like, and trust, they're going to be much easier to convert. So people are flipping the funnel upside down is what I'm seeing.
Right. I mean, just as I ignored traditional advertising when I ran that landscape business, I think it's exceptionally more, especially more relevant these days, because people simply, if you go back on studies over the last several decades, I heard this from the Ford Motor Company chief marketing officer, 80% of all consumers do not trust businesses. So you see an ad, your first question is, who are these guys? You know, you want to get to know them. You want to have that trust level. And so what are you going to do? You're going to get online and you're going to start searching for information, or you're going to get a referral from a friend. And what I've discovered from various studies is those are the two ways that people make most of their buying decisions. So whether you get the referral first, you probably get in line to kind of check out and validate your friend's recommendation, or the other way around. You happen to find some information about a company online. You ask your friend, "Hey, have you heard of these guys? Seem like nice guys, publishing some great information, really looks interesting." So those two together is really, I think, the key to local businesses, especially being more relevant in the future.
Let's bring this back to chambers and the membership of a chamber, 90% of which are small businesses, and they've joined together to support each other in the community. They can really leverage each other. It's not as if they're competitors that should stay decidedly apart. There's nothing wrong with making sure that you're spreading the word about them and they're spreading the word about you. We're all media companies now, it seems to me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
what do you recommend for a small business person? Don't be a silo, right? Go out there and spread the love, I would think.
Get to know people. Tony Hsieh, the co-founder of Zappos, I forget how he puts it exactly, but he says just get out there and make connections and just let serendipity take care of things. But who knows your industry better than you, or as well as you, are your competitors. And these days, we just can't do it ourselves. I mean, that's the entrepreneurial mindset and probably what got our businesses started and moving in the early days is just working those unbelievable hours. But to get it over the threshold of where most of us are these days is to start partnering with competitors. I mean, this is the basic model for this is the movie industry. I mean, all these huge egos, probably, if you're talking about the actors, but also the people that do the production work, they show up to create a project. Obviously, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that go on that may not be as happy as everybody would like, but they're committed to the project, and then they go away. And so, what I suggested in the book was, get to know your competitors and find out how you guys can maybe work together on a project to share the risk and the rewards, and it might elevate both of your businesses to a new level. And if it doesn't work out, you go your own ways. I've done this. I tried to partner with a guy. We just didn't agree on style, so it didn't work, but we're still friends. We still compete for the same type of business. And actually, now that I mention that, he just gave me a referral last week because he was heading out of town and he couldn't take care of that. So right there you go.
You got a lot to cover in this book, and I was just going through my notes, and we're going to run out of time here. So let's we'll start winding it down. What about personal versus business? I see a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses, they'll be doing their posts from the business, and it's coming off as not entirely salesy, but not entirely human either. What do you suggest?
Definitely personal. You have to get your personality out there. That's what engages people. There's a reason why People magazine is still getting actually thicker and more robust every day in a dying industry. People are always interested in people, in stories. That's the stuff that makes your business relatable. And so I think there's a need maybe to have your business profiles, but by and large, having your personality out there somewhere. Let's go back to the story about the Ford CMO. I saw this keynote presentation. It was really a conversation between him and Brian Solis at Blog World. Okay. And so there he is. And if you know anything about Blog World, it's little people like me, one-person companies, mommy bloggers, people like that. And I thought, the way he knows that you have to just get out there and get to know everybody on a personal level. Whereas to broadcast a message, let's say from Ford, corporate headquarters, it's going to land flat. But anyway, the key thing that he said was, look, we are giving up control of our brand. We know that the more we can provide solutions and kind of get the conversation rolling in the communities, that is what is going to drive our brand in the future, is getting people talking favorably about your brand. And that's not going to happen if you're not, bringing it down to a human level.
Yeah, it's a cause and effect kind of thing. If you want people to be discussing your business, well, your business had better be out there. But really what we trust is people. And so your people. What about your staff members? Should your staff members be given the go-ahead, the encouragement to talk about your business?
Totally. So many businesses do this. I mean, as you know in the book, I mentioned that your partners on social media can be your employees, spouses, people in the community, competitors, ex-employees even. I have a lot of former employees that I communicate with, and it's really, here's where we're going to, is towards complete transparency. And so if you're running a great business and you're really involved, you're the kind of person that people want to do business with. And the more you can really get that out there by, because really what we're all doing is we're connecting the dots. We used to know so many people in a community in that local environment, but if you can connect with more people, they can make referrals, they can have influence, they can basically help you out.
Okay.
But it's all about connecting the dots and being more connected. And so this is what Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, said, is that it's better to be not the most connected, not attracting tons of followers, but the better connected business professional. And so the more we can connect with people and then, of course, get to know them better, the more likely that's going to lead to future business.
All right. Well, very good. I really appreciate you being on today. How can people get a hold of your book?
The easiest way is to go to the title of the book.com, builtinsocial.com, and that will take you to all of the many digital formats, of which there are more than I realized. There's also a link there to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. It's in the larger Barnes & Nobles, but basically builtinsocial.com is the best place to go to wherever you want to get a copy of it and to learn more about it.
And how do people go about maybe hiring you to speak at their association event or at their chamber, or consult with a chamber member? How do they do that?
That too is on that same site. So my site is jeffkorhan.com. That's my name, jeffkorhan.com. There's a tab there that says the book, and that takes you to what we just discussed, builtinsocial.com. There's a form you can fill out if you want to interview me. There's a link to hiring me to speak. There is just all kinds of information there, where you can learn more about the book and decide if it's right for you. You can even download a free chapter to get a sense of what the book's about, the table of contents, the introduction that we talked about, and so forth.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much.